Okay, we are live. I am here with my fabulous guest, Rosalind Sedacca, who is, if you haven't heard of her, you must be living under a rock because she is a rock star in the divorce and co-parenting world. She has been doing this and supporting families for multiple decades. She's absolutely phenomenal resource and really pours her heart and soul into this work. Rosalind, I'm so thrilled to have you, back and to have this conversation with you, continue sort of along the path of what we were talking about last week. For those of you who may have missed that, please be sure to check that out. That was a wonderful conversation. So just welcome. And in case, again, someone is watching who's not familiar with you, please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you. I'm Rosalind Sedacca. I'm a divorce and co-parenting coach and founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network. I'm an author, a podcast host, and the focus of my work is on helping parents make the best decisions regarding their children before, during, and long, long after divorce.
Beautiful. I love that so much. And for those of you who might not be familiar with myself, my name is Maria Natapov. I'm a step parenting and co-parenting coach, really focus a lot on blended family dynamics in my work. And I'm excited for this conversation where we're going to be talking about how and when to introduce a new partner to your children post-divorce. When you find that special someone, we're gonna cover hopefully all the bases or as many of them as we can. So, Rosalind, what comes up for you as maybe a place to start
Well, I
on this
want to
topic?
remind parents that it's very exciting to move from divorce into the dating realm, and you want to be ready, not only physically ready, but emotionally and psychologically ready, so that you're feeling really good about yourself. I think having high self-esteem before you start the dating process is very important because dating can be depressing at times and overwhelming at times and frustrating. And some people put their feet toes in the water and after 2 or 3 months give up and say this isn't for me anymore, and don't
Mhm.
want that to happen to you. So you do need to get out there, and you do believe you're have to believe you're a good catch. You
Mhm.
have to really know that you are worthy of finding a quality partner.
Mhm.
And I always remind my clients that you need to be focused on what are the lessons I learned from my divorce. Because
Yes.
if you haven't learned any lessons and all you're doing is pointing your finger and saying, my ex is a this, that, and the other thing, and they made all the mistakes in the world and I didn't do anything wrong, then it's very likely you're going to get into another relationship with similar parameters and dynamics. So, what did you learn? What do you know now when you're looking for a new partner? Who are you looking for now, and what makes it different from the way it was in the past? Who are you now, and what are your priorities? They may have changed dramatically. Your goals, your options, looking ahead as you're aging with a partner, and what character points do they have? Personality traits, so that you could say, uh-oh, early on and say, well, this isn't someone that I want to be with, or here's a red flag warning that I didn't catch the first time, or now I'm going to be more patient or mindful about certain things, and I'm not going to lose my temper as quickly or be so impatient. Whatever it is, learn those lessons before you move ahead into the dating realm.
That is so important. I love that you brought that up, Rosalind. I would add to that. I mean, I think you were kind of outlining it anyway, but essentially, what are the patterns, right? What are my patterns? What are my patterns of responding? How do I tend to handle situations? What worked? What didn't work? And really taking a close look at that. And the other piece you brought up about the confidence, I think is so key because sometimes we're not even aware that we have these needs and we're almost looking outside of ourselves to fill them in these situations when we start to date. And it's understandable, right? Like for many people, they've been maybe depleted, things haven't been working well, which is why they got divorced in the first place. However, it is so important to ensure that you know exactly what it is you're looking for from the dating that you're doing and that you're very clear about that and that you create nice, strong, solid boundaries, or at least very, very, really take the time to explore them and establish rules of thumbs for yourself so that you don't get essentially emotionally attached to somebody who again is not a good fit And really, that can cause a lot more problems because you're already going through a very significant transition and finding new footing. And for many, I mean, it really is recreating a new identity for yourself, right? Because for many people, they've been married for a long time. And when they were last single, they were a very different version of themselves, much younger version, just in a very different place in their lives. So taking the time to assess that and giving yourself the room to sit with some of these questions and give them their proper due, I think is so key, so important, not only for your well-being, but also for your kids as well. It's super critical. And just to reiterate again, I know we've mentioned this before, they are looking to their parents for the framework of how they navigate through life. So if you're not taking the time, that could possibly have serious repercussions for them as they navigate these same questions, grapple with the same questions.
Yes, absolutely.
So what are perhaps, I don't know, how should we do this? Should we just do like top tips or what are you thinking, Rosalind?
Whatever works for you, I'm fine with. So
I think what's really key, we chatted about this a little bit prior to the start of this conversation live, that sometimes in the best case scenario, we definitely want to wait about a year at least before introducing the new partner to the kids. Hopefully, that is possible. In some situations, that may not be for a variety of reasons. But again, just to reiterate, it is so important to have open communication to the extent possible with your co parent to support your kids very clearly so that you guys have a united front and a united message you're delivering to your kids to ensure that they're feeling secured, supported, and that they have access to both of their parents again through this additional new transition of a new person, a new parental figure coming into their lives, but also creating that time to speak to your kids so that they can have one-on-one time, have your full undivided attention, and have the freedom to truly express themselves, concerns, um, emotions, reservations, what have you. It's so important that they feel comfortable sharing that with you and that you're in the loop of where they're at.
And can I just point out something that occurred to me that we need to address before we move further?
Mhm.
And that is when you're looking for a new dating partner, it's urgently important that you focus on a partner who likes children.
Yeah.
Because if you're divorced with children, your children are not secondary in your life, and you don't want anyone to think that. So it's very important that you let any dating partner know right from the first date on that you're a parent, that your child is about this age. You don't want to give a lot of details about your children, but you want to let them know that you are living with these children at this age. They're very important in your life. And if you're with someone who doesn't like children, doesn't respect children, doesn't want to have anything to do with children, then move on right from the get-go, because it's not fair to your children to bring someone into their life who doesn't like and appreciate children. You need a lot of tolerance and patience when you're around kids, and you want someone there who has that quality. So don't make the mistake of dating 3 or 4 times before you break the news that you have children and that you're expecting those children to see you and have you in their lives in any way. So I just wanted to make sure that was very clear to everyone.
Brilliant. Yeah, such a great point and so important to consider. And there may be some reservations for some people. They kind of tiptoe around it. They're not sure how to bring it up. So I love, Rosalind, from the get-go, just be direct, have it be one of the first things you share with the individual. And it's so valuable when you have these non-negotiables and you're clear on what they are and you're just direct because it avoids any potential heartache for both of you. It avoids the awkwardness. It avoids having to kind of backpedal and find, a way to have that conversation. And it sets you up for such a much better experience in your dating, in whatever future you're building for yourself, and absolutely, certainly, number one, for your kids, most importantly. So love that you brought that up.
Thank you.
Yeah. So back to, what we were talking about with regard to the time frame. Um, do you have other thoughts you'd like to share about that?
No, I think it's more than just a period of time.
Yes.
It's really you're being ready, and the things we talked about initially is do the inner work first
Yes.
before you get out there, so that you're prepared for dating and you know what you're looking for, and you've learned some of the life lessons from your divorce, so you're making wiser choices. And don't introduce your children to a partner until you really feel they're a serious partner, because children get attached to people. You may be dating someone who's a really nice person, and after 3 or 4 months, you break up for just organic reasons where you're moving apart, and kids can get very attached to people. So rather than introducing them too early on to just partners who you're getting to know, wait until this is a keeper. Wait until you're really sure that you found someone you're going to be spending serious time with before you introduce the kids. It's just a rule that most professionals try to influence people into understanding the importance of. It's a favor for your children, so
Yeah.
that when they are meeting someone, they don't have to get adjusted to and go through the process of getting used to more than one person for a very long period of time.
Yeah, that's such a phenomenal point. That's so key because kids are already, again, going through a lot of change, which is naturally difficult for them, as they're developing, as they're already facing a lot of change day to day for themselves. So yes, being able to avoid a transient situation where they're being introduced to someone and then they're leaving and they're getting that experience and then that's getting reinforced for them. Instead, really ensure that it is the right person. And moreover, as you're assessing fit, as you're dating this individual, consider how are they going to get along with the kids as well, personality wise, approach wise, interest wise. Some of those things can certainly grow and evolve with time and like the right approach, but some of those things may be kind of core differences. And again, it really is valuable to consider these things when assessing how successful long term is this individual going to be and how well are they going to fit into your family dynamic and family unit.
Absolutely. And we can't expect a partner to fall in love with our children instantaneously, or our children to fall in love with someone we may be in love with. So
Right.
we have to go in with very realistic expectations.
Right.
This is going to be a very slow process. Just because you're crazy about this other person doesn't mean your kids are going to be.
Mhm.
And be aware that in most cases, every child in the family is not going to feel the same way. So you may have
Yeah.
one child who gets attached, one child who's very angry, one child who isn't that interested at all about in any of this, and a multitude of other reactions. Every child will react differently, take a different period of time to
Yes.
adjust. And same with the partner. You have to prepare the partner to understand the age of the child and what they're about and what they
Yes.
like and what their interests are and all of that. And schedule very specific short-term intervals when they're meeting in very comfortable ways, like going for McDonald's lunch for
Yeah.
40 minutes together, and then everyone can escape and
Yeah.
move on to see how the process goes. Meeting in a park and sitting around the lake and looking at the ducks and talking, those
Yes.
kinds of things where there's no long time commitment, and we have the opportunity to sort of change the situation if it's not working well. Because as a parent, you can't always predict
Yeah.
what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. But you do want to prepare your children in advance. And I know you have some really solid ideas for having those initial conversations.
Yeah, I think as we've talked about before during our last conversation, having those conversations with your kids, checking in with them, where are they at, and kind of supporting them to move forward in the process, but also not rushing them, right? Being mindful to allow them to set the pace.
Mhm.
Because that really shows you that internally there could be more going on than they're able to express. And once they seem open to the idea of meeting this individual and you're certain that this is the keeper, I suggest meeting in a public place, just like you said, Rosalind, but more so actually have it be almost like a run-in so that if things aren't going well right away or just feels really uncomfortable and your child is having an unanticipated negative response, you can just say, "Oh, nice to see you. Like it was nice running into you." And you can literally just pass on by and move along. However, again, if it becomes comfortable and it seems like there's an opportunity to kind of stroll together, be it in a park, be it on the street, be it in a mall, then certainly, again, maybe taking a little bit more time to feel things out and see how things go is available to you. But that is what I typically suggest for a first meeting, because even sometimes when kids think they're going to be ready and they tell you they are, the response will be very different when push comes to shove and they're actually living through that situation. So being prepared with a very easy, no pressure exit plan is always a good idea.
And it's also important to talk to your children in advance and
Mhm.
have a conversation that revolves around this theme,
Yeah.
that my love for you is the
Mhm.
most important love in my life. No one ever is going to replace you in my life, because the love for a child is different from the love from an adult partner.
Yeah.
And so I want you to understand that my love for you doesn't change, it doesn't shift, it's forever and ever. And for me to have a new person in my life as a friend, as a partner, as a companion, as someone to be with, is something that's very, very different. So
Yeah.
I do want you to like this person, and it really means a lot to me, but I don't expect you to love them instantaneously.
Mhm.
And I want you to understand that my loving someone else is a totally different kind of love than the love I have for you, which is permanent and forever. And in whatever language makes the most sense for you to say that, and say it often in different ways in preparation for this, even if it's a few months before they're meeting someone, so that they're understanding that no one is replacing them in your life.
Yeah, that is so key. That is so important because kids often need multiple iterations. And from the subtlest little hint of something that they might be perceiving, they're starting to create a story around it. And the story often is, I'm replaceable, I'm not good enough, things are my fault, or, mom's upset with me, dad's upset with me. They are trying to, I don't know, have another child in their life, have another partner in their life. So it's so important to keep reiterating that message that they are your number one priority, that your love for them is absolutely irreplaceable and incomparable to any other relationship and love you have in your life, and that you're not going anywhere, and that it's okay, and that their feelings are accepted. That's really key too, because that is what creates the security for them and the assurance that they're able to truly express themselves rather than just trying to please you in whatever they're trying to communicate. Um,
I love that you mentioned that, because that's such a crucial point. You, after they do get an opportunity to meet your partner, you want to talk to them and find out what they thought, and not judge them if one or more of the children comes out with comments that aren't flattering. I don't like her, I don't like him, I did
yeah,
they did this wrong, why'd they say that, whatever it is. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't.
yeah,
Sometimes they're immediately smitten and like the person. Sometimes it's going to take a while, and you don't know how that is going to be, but they they need to have permission to vent, to express their feelings, to talk to you about it. And what you need to do is let them know that you're hearing them and
mhm,
you understand what they're saying. You could ask questions for clarity, but that what they say matters and you're not just dismissing it. No one
yeah,
wants to feel discounted or dismissed, and it's the same with our children. So you may not be able to force the relationship. It may be that your children are not going to accept this person for whatever reason, and you may have to make the decision to look for another partner, or it may be a factor of time where it may take 4 or 5 early stage introductions before something happens where you're hitting the right note, and then they're very interested. So I wouldn't give up after one time, but I would definitely be having conversations and reassure them that what they're saying matters, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's so important. Yes, exactly. And actually taking the time to really affirm, especially when they're saying things that aren't so flattering or so comfortable or even seem kind of negative, because that is what is giving them the security, again, that you're a safe person for them to share authentically with. And it's only through that that I think there's ever really ever hope of a relationship truly working out and that foundation being able to be built. Because the other piece I wanted to mention is it's important for the parent to recognize they're going to be a facilitator to some degree in these interactions and in building these relationships between their new partner and their children. Right? It's going to require your facilitation, your support, your involvement, right, with both parties to help them understand each other and possibly learn each other's likes and dislikes and really foster opportunities for connection to be able to be made and strengthened. So you're sort of the glue here. So again, being able to have these conversations candidly, especially for your kids, because they tend to pick up on subtle clues like, oh, mom didn't really like that. I shouldn't say things like that. She can't handle it, and you don't want them thinking that. You want them to be able to be authentic because only then can you have real and authentic conversations with them to truly support them in the way they're needing you to through this process.
Yes, absolutely. And one other point is very important that your partner understands that their role is never to be a substitute parent.
Yes.
It's not wise for any love partner to come into the picture in the family dynamic and doing discipline,
Yeah.
taking on the role that the other parent had. So they're there as a friend, as a pal, as a support system, as an adult in their life to who's going to treat them well and like them and create a bond and relationship with them, but never as a substitute parent. And one thing I always tell my clients is that the better the relationship your children have with their other parent, with your
Mhm.
ex, the easier it is for them to meet new partners in your life. When I was dating, I was single for about 8 years after my divorce, and I had a few serious relationships during that time before I remarried. My son always liked the new partner and never felt threatened. And he was 11 when we divorced. He never felt threatened by the new man in my life because he had a very strong relationship with his dad. So he knew no one was replacing his dad. He had his dad, he had his mom, and now there's this new guy who's come along who's a friend of the family who he can have fun with and enjoy. And he became very close to a couple of the men that I was dating before I ended up marrying again. But if your child doesn't have the support system with their other parent and doesn't feel that the strength of that bond, they can be much more critical and much try much harder to
Yeah.
mess up your relationship because they're feeling jealous, they're feeling insecure in the relationship bond. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. So really it is up to you and your co-parent, their other biological parent, to create that security and structure and reassurance, as we've been saying all along, and working together to have a united message for your kids of we love you, we're here for you, nothing will ever change that. We will always be a family, even though what that physically looks like might change because now you're splitting your time between homes. And no one is going to replace any of these, any of us for you. And nobody's ever going to replace you for us, that you are our top priority. And again, just reaffirming and showering them with love. That's really the key to creating that stability for them. And as you're pointing to, that security allows them to be flexible with all the other moving parts in this equation, which is really what's needed.
Yeah. Why don't we take a minute to let people know how they could find us if they want
Yeah.
to talk further about any of these related topics?
Yes, that's fantastic. And please do mention your phenomenal website for the month of January that you have tirelessly worked on to create a phenomenal resources for parents who are navigating this journey.
Well, thank you. January is International Child-Centered Divorce Month, and if you go to the special website I put together, you can download as many free gifts and services from professional divorce experts around the world as you'd like, all from one page. So the URL is divorced with an ED, divorcedparentsupport.com, divorcedparentsupport.com, and just enter your email address and you'll go to the page and you can download all the wonderful free gifts from experts. And year round, you can find me at childcentereddivorce.com. I do a complimentary coaching session and I have a free ebook on the homepage of the website and tons of resources and ebooks and courses and programs and videos and interviews. So there's lots of material there, all at childcentereddivorce.com. And how can people find you, Marie?
Yes, and I'm located at synergisticstepparenting.com. I know it's a bit of a mouthful. If you want, you can also Google Step Parenting Coach Maria, and that will bring you to the website too. I also have a variety of different resources. A lot of those you'll usually find on my LinkedIn page or my Facebook profile, which is for LinkedIn, it's Synergistic Step Parenting, though you can also type in Maria Natapov. For Facebook, it's Maria Natapov, and you will see a host of interviews. On the website, you'll find podcast recordings with a ton of resources and information. And you can always reach out. I'm happy to direct you to wonderful colleagues like Rosalind for support. And I also do complimentary calls for parents to get clarity and really identify their next best step on this journey. So would love to to be there to support you. So Rosalind, let's see, final thoughts? I'm sure there's so much more that we can talk about and cover here, but since we're kind of wrapping up with the half hour, just to be mindful of our time, what
Yes.
else comes to mind to share?
Just for the parents to relax and understand that this is a slow process. Move more slowly, take your time, don't make dramatic decisions about anything because you are balancing a lot of heavy emotions. You want to make sure your children feel safe, secure, and loved. Your new partner feels safe, secure, and loved. You're feeling safe, secure, and loved, and making sure that all of those things mesh together is a process. So relax, take your time, and trust your gut
Yeah.
on everything with all of this because um, these are feelings that you could pick up on, and you could also reach out to help for people like us.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Absolutely. So my top tip would be patience is the key. That's what I really heard you pointing to, Rosalind. And don't take things personally. So
Mm.
when your child is upset and they're saying things about you or about the process or about your new partner, again, it could just be venting. They could just be, again, looking to test boundaries to see how secure it is and is it okay for them to express themselves? What are you going to do? Are you going to lose your mind? Right? That is normal. That is what kids are supposed to be doing. That means that they're developing in a healthy way. So, congratulations. You're a safe person. And just take a deep breath and let it roll off your shoulders. And it's just a moment in time. It will pass. It doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly how they're going to feel permanently or even how they really feel underneath it all, but definitely creating more opportunities to provide them the space to speak freely and express themselves and for you to check in and be genuinely interested in where they're at and how things are going for them. That is going to be the key for both of you to move this forward with a solid foundation, and really building that resiliency.
Well said. I agree.
Thank you. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. And we are going to be speaking again next week. So be sure to tune in. We will be here at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. And we look forward to seeing you then.
Bye
Take good
bye
care,
now.
everyone.